Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be a project video. It's going to be part 2 on the Volvo 360. So a wee recap for any new viewers. I picked this one up in October 2024 from Matheson's auctions down in Pickering. So the first video I done on it was basically collecting it, getting it all the way back up to Scotland and my adventure in doing so. So the second video that I'm going to share today is a few of the more dangerous things I found by the time I got home that were wrong with the car and how I repaired them. Let's get into this one. My name's Chris and welcome to Retro Ratchet. Right, so this is the day after collection of the 360, so I'm going to have a wee closer look at the engine bay, see what's broken on the way up the road. Maybe nothing. It's looking not too bad so far. I'm going to clean that up so we can figure out what type of carb it's got fitted to it, and get the code numbers off it and maybe get a rebuild kit sent up. But let's have a wee look at the oil. Let's see if we still have oil. Yep, we're full of nice black oil that's probably about 10 years old. So we'll do an oil and filter change on it at some point, but it's good to know it hasn't burnt it. Yeah, battery. We do have a mobile battery, some kind of built-in sliding device for that. So that will probably be the first job that we do. Water, so we look now. We did have to fill this when we collected it, but it's still on the full mark. Unfortunately, it is just pure water that is in it. There doesn't seem to be any antifreeze, so that'll definitely be an urgent one because we're getting into winter and I don't want the radiator cracking because of that. But it is still full, so it hasn't used any oil, it hasn't used any water. Brake fluids, that's roughly where it was. That's not at the maximum, but we will top that up so we can monitor it. That was the lead that was loose, that's still on. Let's have a wee nosy in the oil filler cap. No mail, not too bad. And no major breakdowns or anything yesterday, so let's try a cold start, see if we can get it running. There we go, look at that. Hey, nothing much wrong with that. So it doesn't seem to have its misfire that it had yesterday when it was started from cold at the auction site. So that's pretty good, and you can see the engine itself, it is a lot more stable than yesterday. So I'm wondering if it was maybe just some old stale fuel in it that wasn't helping it. But that's promising, you know, started on the button. Right, on to the next job. So very first job on the 360 is this mobile battery. We're going to need to get this clamped down, figure out firstly how it clamps down and what we can do in the meantime until I buy a clamp for it. So it'll be a case of disconnecting it, getting this airbox out the road. I do see it a little clamp down. I don't know if it's maybe just misshapen or damaged or whatever, but we'll get it all stripped out and see if there's anything that we can use that's currently on the car. So it was just a case of getting those terminals off there with that ring spanner, and yeah, that earth one was a wee bit squashed. That's that one out the road. Right, so what we're left with in here. Yeah, so looking at that, again, I don't know these, but I'm wondering if that is how the battery is clamped. There's a couple of little sliders there where that can slide in, but what we'll do is, it is all buckled out in the middle. We're going to take that out, I'm going to straighten it. There's a hole through there, so it is possible that when you put this in, yeah, there's a bolt and a little clamp that goes through there, so that's probably how it's meant to be. I mean, this battery is a wee bit small, and certainly it's going to be stretching this battery cable a wee bit. I might have to reroute it. I can take it off there at the solenoid just to give it a little bit more length, but I think that's what we're going to have to do, is straighten that and then put in just makeup. I can basically make up a wee bracket for it. I think that's probably the best plan, and then once a second-hand one becomes available we can just switch them out. Right, let's get this wee bracket out. It looks a wee bit rusty, so hopefully the bolts don't break. And you know what, it's a really handy tool, this one. Ideal for these type of jobs. So we'll straighten that. It's actually not too bad now it's off, but yeah, you can see we buckling, which isn't going to help. So we'll get that flattened down, reinstalled, and then this Maestro Turbo spare battery clamp. So that's going to work out perfectly. And then that will secure our battery once we've pulled this cable a wee bit further over, or certainly routed it under that power steering hose. Right, let's have a go at straightening this. It's actually buckled in a couple of different directions. So yeah, we'll just get it in the vise and see if we can figure this one out. They're quite thin, these, so they're not going to take a lot to get this one sorted out. How's that look? Looks good to me. Right, let's get that on the car. Right, let's reroute this starter solenoid cable. We need a wee bit more length on it so we can move the battery a little bit further forward. And yeah, just a wee bit messing about there to release that cable to manage to reroute it a little bit so it's not as tight. Thought I could smell petrol there. It does look, if you can see down there, I do think we have a leaking fuel hose. Because, yeah, that braided one there, what is that? I don't know if that's a feeder or a return, but I tell you what, it's certainly wet, so that's going to be another priority job. Placing that, yeah, you can see. So anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. So we've routed that underneath this power steering hose, just to give it a wee bit more length there on it. And we will sort the the wet fuel hose that is on top of the starter solenoid, because that's a great recipe for for disaster. So that's that back over there. Right, let's get this bracket back in. Now it's a wee bit straighter. Should slot in there like so. And all I'm doing here is just getting the cable fixed back in there. There's a wee tie that held it in place. Right, that sounds a bit more promising. So what we're going to do is move the battery as far forward as we can, and then, yeah, so that's now locking that side of the battery in place. And just saving my hands again, using that to get that bolt in. And that's actually fairly well secured that direction now. And now we'll put on the Maestro Turbo clamp, which is just a basic clamp like that. And that will fit through there. And that'll secure the battery from travelling backwards. And yeah, that was just that single nut and bolt there. It was a case of actually just kind of stretching down into the wheel arch area to try and hold the bottom of it while I tightened it. So it wasn't too bad, it was a brand new one that I used anyway, but at least that's secured in place. There we have it. Job number one complete on the Volvo. You lift the car with that now. So that's good. We've now got a safe battery. I think job number two will definitely have to be that fuel hose. So I will keep these disconnected at the moment for obvious reasons until we resolve what looks to be a worn fuel hose. Right, today's job, we're going to tackle the fuel lines on the 360. So yeah, they look a wee bit of a mess. I think a combination of hose pipe, original braid over rubber, and that one has actually gone porous. So when the car's running, it kindly drips petrol down that very non-important positive battery feed to the starter solenoid. So on these, the feed and the tank return actually go through a box section on the chassis. So it'll be a case of untying them this end and certainly putting a piece of string on when we pull them through, so then we can get the replacement ones back through. So we'll disconnect at this end, we'll have a look at the back and see how easy it's going to be to get access, get them off there, and then hopefully remove them and have them replaced. Yeah, it was just a case of trying to squeeze in there and get those released without breaking anything else. Love a little copper hose joiner in there with no flares on the end. Right, that's that disconnected. It's very, very brittle, that. I'm surprised it hasn't cracked. But we'll now go to the back of the car and have a wee look, see if we can identify where it comes out near the tank. Right, we're going to take this tray off here. It looks like 10mm nuts, and that'll hopefully give us access to the front of the tank, and we can see where these pipes exit and then go into that box section along there. Now this actually turned out to be a wee bit of a pain, this job. I was kind of tight on access actually as I was lying under the car there. It was one of those ones that just took a lot longer really than it should have, but I suppose I should count myself lucky that more things weren't actually seized on. And yeah, I was just supporting the tank there with a with a trolley jack while I removed one of the mounts there that was holding that tray on. And what you can see here is my attempts at trying to get that last one off, where it's attached to the petrol tank strap. And I was actually unsuccessful in doing so, so the whole lot came off in one go, as you'll see in a second. Yeah, and then that's the other side coming off of that tank strap. But at least it did come off. A wee bit of manoeuvring there to get it past the handbrake cable. That was a pleasant job. And we have a nice white fungus covered fuel pipe there. So we'll sort that petrol tank strap first so we can get the tank strap back up and then go for there. Yeah, so it was becoming apparent that was going to have to be cut off. There was no way that was coming off just with a spanner. So yeah, unfortunately, angle grinder out there. Try and piece that off as carefully as I could. As you can see, I was just cutting 2 edges on that nut there so I could try and get hold of it, and then off it came eventually. So that was good, obviously, to try and salvage those pieces. I didn't want to go and have to try and find a new petrol tank strap or anything like that, but yeah, that's just everything getting cleaned up so I could get those tacked back on. Then just cleaning up the welds there before I fit it back onto the car. Then we can get that trolley jack out the way once the strap's taken the weight again of the tank. But yeah, luckily we didn't run into any major problems doing this job. It certainly could have been a lot worse if I was struggling to get those bolts out that hold the actual strap on itself. Or certainly if I'd damaged the strap, I would have probably ended up just making a new one myself. Now, back to the original job in hand, which was actually to look at the petrol hoses and see where they came out the box section, which looks like here. Yeah, we got distracted with that whole strap drama there, but that's back on and out the road now, and welded on. That bolt is welded on, so that won't spin now. They do have a little square insert on to stop them spinning, but it's just heavily corroded. Now, these come out here, and then we have one of them all the way up here going, God knows where. Oh yeah, so that one feeds across up there to like a little nylon one, and then that one, yeah, who knows where he goes, over here somewhere. Right, we'll have a wee look in a bit because I think there is an access hatch in there, and I think what we'll do is we'll replace this as well. Well, we do have quite a bit of petrol in the tank, so maybe not replace this one quite yet. Right, so let's have a look at this wee access panel under the back seat. That might have had some money there, no luck for that. Yeah, so this looks like it's obviously been up before. Well, we've got some nice furry pipes there, so we'll need to figure out, I guess, which one's a feed and which one's a return. And trace where they go to, that hasn't really helped me that much, actually. Right, we'll get another look back under the car. Right, so that looks like the return to the tank, so I'm going to tackle that one first. So it seems to be that's the original cotton overbraid, goes on to these wee nylon pipes. This one does appear to be jammed about there, then it turns, and then about there, there's a join and it goes into these weird hose pipes, but I think we're best just replacing the whole lot rather. I mean, it would be easier if I just replaced them down there. We wouldn't have to get involved in all this, but I think I'm just going to run one hose front to back. So it's going to be a case of just very carefully trying to get this clip broken. Ease it off of there without damaging anything. It should snap shortly, I hope. Yeah, there we go. And as you can see here, I was just trying to be as gentle as possible. I didn't want to break anything and then have to drop the whole tank down. He splits under there, so yeah, I think that has definitely seen better days. Difficult it's going to be getting that out from under there. I might need to drop the tank a little bit at this side. It's definitely caught. Yeah, that pipe's definitely caught there, so that won't be coming out by its own accord. And then just loosening that tank again, get a wee bit of the strain off it so we could pull that hose through. definitely seen better days, that nylon pipe. And this is solid, see this? Really, really hard. So now what we're going to do is tie some string onto that. We'll pull that through via the engine bay. Or maybe we'll do it the other way. I don't know what will be the best way to do it. Actually, we'll pull it this way. So put some string in the front, pull it this way. Now this didn't 100% go according to plan. I actually had to feed that piece of string back through again, which I didn't catch on camera. So that's it, what not to use for fuel line. And yeah, the original one there is kinked and stuff. I guess that's just pushed in with a little piece of copper pipe. Man, I guess it's only a carb system, so there's not really the pressure involved in injection systems. But yeah, let's just do it properly. Single piece front to back. Next job, let's find out what size hose we need. It does look very small, maybe 6mm, something like that. Yeah, that's a 6.12mm. So yeah, it looks like 6mm hose will be perfect, but that side looks different. The feed, so let's just check that one. Probably going to be nearer 8mm, I would imagine. And just very carefully removing that one like I did the other side, as not to disturb anything. Just over 8, so it looks like 6mm return and 8mm feed. And then hopefully they don't change sizes at the front. If they do, you can just order a wee reducer. Right, so that's a fuel return hose out the Volvo now. I've been down to the car part shop and I've got some replacements. I've decided to use R9, which is probably overkill for a carburetted car, but hopefully it should last a wee bit longer with ethanol containing fuels. So now it's just going to be a case of feeding both of these through and connecting up. Should be fun. So yeah, you can see me here, just I'm basically just using insulating tape to tape some string to the end of that new hose. Well, that was the plan anyway. And then we did run into some problems, which you're going to see in a minute. You know, everything was pulling through quite well. It's kind of a wee bit of an odd angle actually where they come through. But yeah, it didn't quite go according to plan, unfortunately. In retrospect, I might have been better feeding some copper pipe through there rather than rubber. And finally, that's that hose through. Somebody pushed a grommet, unfortunately, right the way into the box section, which was blocking everything. But we've got that recovered now. And then we have our hose through there safely. So now all we need to do is get the feed line done, and then that should be us. Right, so as you can see, we've now got the new fuel hoses routed from that box section there, round there, and over the top of the gear linkage, up the top of the tank, and then out inside, and then out where the inlets are, which you can see from inside the car. And here's a finished job. I mean, at last, this one took a wee bit longer than expected. So there you can see the feed and the return just passing into the box section there. So obviously they're all renewed, and that's a one piece right from front to back. You go into there, that little vapour separator. Obviously got your fuel pump down there. So there's another couple of hoses. So that one there, and the one down there to the fuel filter, which I also just replaced. It's just a wee disposable inline one, and then a new feed up there to the carb itself. So I think that's all the fuel related pipe work replaced there. There's one more pipe at the back I'd like to replace. Joins both tanks, but the tank has got quite a bit of petrol in at the moment, so now's probably not the right time to do it. So we'll get this air filter stuck back on, and that should be this job complete. And these are just the pipes going into the tank there. You just see them, so replace the clips as well, obviously. And the hoses just run all the way from there to the front. So all we need to do is put this little cap back on and get the seats back down, and the job is complete. And there we have it, airbox back installed again. So we should be good to go now on this job. So that's the first set of jobs completed. I guess they were a bit of an accident waiting to happen. Petrol and a loose battery all mixed into one. But at least we've got that sorted. So join me for part 3, where I'm going to get the car up in the air and I'm going to show you what else I've found wrong with it. And there could be a big long list to go through. So stay tuned. Thanks all for watching.